The sun dipped low over the gleaming glass tower of Verity Corp, the kind of company where money dripped from the ceilings and arrogance was part of the dress code. Inside, in a spotless hallway lined with marble floors, Armin pushed his mop in steady, careful strokes. He worked silently, humming under his breath, his reflection gliding alongside him on the polished surface. To him, the shine of the floor was like his pride, unnoticed but honest. In the corner office, laughter echoed. 3 junior executives, Ryan, Leo, and Sarah, were huddled together, their suits sharp, their smirks sharper. "You know that janitor, the one who never talks back," Ryan said, twirling his pen. "Let's have some fun with him." Sarah tilted her head, curiosity lighting her eyes. "What are you thinking?" "A blind date," Ryan replied. "We tell him we've found the perfect woman for him, kind, classy, smart. He'll be so nervous he won't even question it." Leo chuckled. "And the woman?" Ryan grinned. "We'll make it sound like she's just an ordinary woman, but here's the twist, she'll be Maya Kapoor." The name alone carried weight. Maya Kapoor, the elusive, sharp-minded billionaire CEO who owned the company. She was known for her brilliance, her discipline, and her almost mythical aura. No one saw her often, and when she appeared, people stood straighter and spoke softer. Sarah hesitated. "Isn't that a little cruel? I mean, he's a nice guy." Ryan waved her off. "It's a joke. He'll get a free dinner, we'll get a good laugh. Everyone wins." They crafted the plan quickly. They'd tell Armin the date was arranged by a friend of a friend. A woman who wanted something simple, a man with a kind heart. Ryan smirked as he typed the fake message. Later that evening, when Armin was mopping near the office lounge, Ryan called him over. "Hey, Armin, got a minute?" Armin wiped his hands on his old apron and nodded politely. "Yes, sir." Ryan gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. "You're a good man, always working hard. Some of us were talking, and, well, we have a friend who's been asking about someone like you." Armin blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. "Someone like me?" "Yeah," Sarah said, stepping in with a warm smile to make it believable. "She's really nice, smart, down to earth. We told her about you, and she's interested in meeting you." Armin's brows furrowed, a mixture of surprise and disbelief flickering in his eyes. "Me, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Ryan laughed. "You deserve a good evening for once. She's waiting tomorrow night at Skylux restaurant. Just tell them you're meeting Maya." Armin nodded slowly, unsure if he was dreaming. A date. It had been years since anyone even noticed him, much less wanted to meet him. He didn't have fancy clothes or smooth words, but maybe, just maybe, someone saw beyond that. After work, he sat on the small bench in the janitor's locker room, staring at his reflection in the mirror above the sink. His uniform was faded, his hands rough, his face worn but kind. "Don't get your hopes up," he whispered to himself. But the thought of sitting across from someone who wanted to know him, not the janitor, but the man, made his heart beat faster. Meanwhile, across the city, in a penthouse that touched the clouds, Maya Kapoor received a message from her friend and PR manager, Alicia. "Maya, you've got to see this. Some of your staff set you up on a fake blind date with one of your janitors. They think it's hilarious. Should I cancel?" Maya leaned back in her chair, her sharp eyes narrowing. "A janitor," she repeated, her voice cool but thoughtful. "Yes," Alicia sighed. "They think you'll walk out as soon as you see him. It's a joke at his expense." For a moment, Maya said nothing. Then, a slow, curious smile curved her lips. "No, don't cancel, I'll go." Alicia blinked. "You're serious?" Maya nodded. "Let's see what kind of man they think is worth mocking. Sometimes, people show their true character when the world thinks they don't matter." That night, 2 people prepared for the same dinner, one with quiet hope, the other with curious intent, unaware that the joke about to unfold would change both their lives forever. The night air carried the scent of jasmine and money. Skylux restaurant was the kind of place where every plate was polished to perfection and the waiters looked like models. Armin stood outside, tugging nervously at the collar of his freshly ironed shirt. It wasn't new, but it was the best he had. He'd shined his shoes twice, trimmed his hair himself, and whispered a small prayer before taking the bus here. He stepped through the glass doors, his heartbeat loud in his ears. The maitre d', gave him a quick once-over and barely concealed a frown. "Yes, sir. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes," Armin said softly. "I'm here to meet Maya." The man's eyebrows shot up. Maya Kapoor, the billionaire CEO. Surely, this man was mistaken. But the reservation list confirmed it. Table 9, Maya. The maitre d's forced smile didn't reach his eyes. "Right this way, sir." Armin followed him through the room, aware of the glances turning his way. The restaurant's elite whispered behind champagne glasses, amused by the sight of someone who clearly didn't belong. But Armin kept his head high. He'd worked in buildings like this for years, always invisible. Tonight, for once, he refused to shrink. At table 9, Maya Kapoor sat already waiting, elegance personified. She wore a black silk dress that shimmered subtly under the warm lights, her posture calm, her expression unreadable. When Armin saw her, he froze for half a second. She was beautiful in a way that made time slow down, poised, powerful, intimidating. "Good evening," he said with a nervous smile. "Are you, Maya?" Maya looked up, her eyes assessing him quickly. She had expected someone rough, perhaps crude, but what she saw instead was a man standing with quiet respect, his eyes humble yet clear. "Yes," she replied evenly. "Please, have a seat." He sat carefully, trying not to bump anything. A waiter appeared instantly, almost hovering. "Would madam and sir like some wine?" Maya nodded. Armin hesitated. "Just water, please." The waiter's tone dipped slightly in sarcasm. "Of course, sir." Maya caught the shift in his voice instantly. Her gaze snapped toward him, sharp as glass. "And make sure his glass is clean," she said coolly. The waiter's smirk vanished. Armin blinked in surprise, unsure if he'd heard right. As the evening unfolded, conversation came awkwardly at first. Armin spoke carefully, worried about saying the wrong thing. "I'm sorry if this is strange," he admitted. "I don't usually go to places like this." Maya tilted her head. "What made you say yes, then?" He smiled faintly. "Because someone believed I was worth a dinner. That doesn't happen often." There was no bitterness in his tone, only honesty. Maya felt something stir inside her, a quiet respect. "Tell me, Armin," she asked, "what do you do?" "I clean floors," he said simply. "I take care of things people forget to notice. Spills, dust, broken bulbs, small things. But if I do it right, no one sees my work at all. That's how I know I've done well." Maya leaned back, studying him. "And that doesn't bother you? Being unseen?" He paused, considering. "People see what they value. I stopped waiting for that kind of attention. I just make sure the place looks good enough for others to feel proud walking through it." For a long moment, Maya said nothing. There was depth in his words, an unexpected wisdom. That cut through her usual defenses. The restaurant noise faded, and all she saw was a man who found dignity in simplicity. The food arrived, delicate dishes plated like artwork. Armin ate slowly, trying to use the right fork, mimicking the people around him. Maya noticed his effort and hid a smile. "You don't have to pretend," she said softly. "Just be comfortable." He looked up, meeting her gaze. "You know, I think comfort comes from people, not places." Maya froze, her mind replaying the words. She had dined with world leaders, tycoons, celebrities, but none had spoken like this. His voice carried no charm, no attempt to impress, just quiet truth. As the evening neared its end, a waiter whispered something to Maya. "Ma'am, your car is ready." Armin stood, preparing to thank her and leave, but before he could speak, Maya said, "Would you walk me to my car?" Outside, under the golden glow of the city lights, they walked side by side in silence. The cool breeze carried their unspoken thoughts. At the curb, Maya turned to him. "Thank you for dinner, Armin." He smiled humbly. "Thank you for your time, Miss Maya. It meant more than you know." She watched him walk away, shoulders straight, steps steady. No arrogance, no pretense. Just quiet strength. For the first time in years, Maya Kapoor didn't feel like the richest person in the room. She felt like a student who had just met a teacher in disguise. The next morning, the soft hum of conversation filled the executive floor of Verity Corp. The night before had already turned into office gossip. Everyone was talking about the janitor's date with the boss. The pranksters, Ryan, Leo, and Sarah, sat in Ryan's glass-walled office, smirking like schoolkids who had just pulled off a masterpiece. I can't believe he actually went, Leo chuckled, sipping his coffee. And with her. The man must have been terrified. Ryan grinned. I told you, best idea ever. She probably walked out the second she saw him. Sarah, however, looked uneasy. I don't know, guys. Maya's not like us. What if she didn't think it was funny? Ryan waved a hand dismissively. Relax, she's too busy to care about a little joke. Just then, the door opened, and there she was. Maya Kapoor, in a tailored navy suit, calm and composed, her gaze sharp enough to silence the room. The air shifted instantly. The three pranksters jumped to their feet. Ms. Kapoor, Ryan said, forcing a smile. Good morning. We were just. Maya's voice cut through him. Talking about last night. Their smiles froze. You heard about that? Leo asked weakly. Maya walked in slowly, placing her phone on the desk. I didn't just hear about it, she said, her tone measured. I was there. The color drained from Ryan's face. You mean, you actually went? I did. Her eyes locked on his, cold and unwavering. And I know exactly what you did. The silence was suffocating. Sarah's hands fidgeted nervously, her voice trembling. Ms. Kapoor, it was just a harmless joke. We didn't mean. Maya's hand slammed against the table, not in anger, but authority. A joke, she repeated softly. You humiliated an employee who's done nothing but serve this company with quiet dignity. You mocked him because of his job, because you think decency and value come from your paychecks. Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Maya stepped closer, her voice now calm, but edged with ice. Do you know what Armin did last night? He treated me like a human being. Not a CEO. Not a billionaire. He spoke with respect, sincerity, and humility, something this office seems to have forgotten. Leo stammered. We didn't think you'd take it so personally. Of course you didn't, Maya interrupted. You don't think before you act. You laugh at people who work harder than you, just because they don't have your titles. Tell me, Leo, what exactly do you contribute to this company that gives you the right to degrade another man's worth? Leo's throat tightened. No one spoke. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears. Maya turned away for a moment, regaining her composure. I watched him handle himself with more grace than any of you have shown in your entire careers. When the waiter looked down on him, he didn't complain. When I questioned him, he answered with honesty. And when he found out it was all a setup, he still thanked me for my time. Ryan's head snapped up. He knows. Maya's eyes narrowed. He heard the call last night when you congratulated yourselves for the prank. You embarrassed him publicly. But do you know what he did? He simply said, "Thank you for the meal," and left. Not a word of anger. Not a single complaint. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. Where is he now? Working, Maya said flatly. Because that's what decent people do. They show up, even when the world mocks them. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Maya took a deep breath and said, I'm not firing you. Not yet. You're going to fix this. All of you. Ryan frowned. How? You'll find out tomorrow, she said, gathering her phone. But remember this, respect isn't something you can buy, and it's not something you can fake. If you can't learn that lesson, there's no place for you in my company. She turned and walked out, leaving the three standing there, pale and shaken. The glass door closed behind her, the echo of her heels sharp against the marble floor. Downstairs, Armin continued mopping the same floors he had polished for years. He looked up when Maya's reflection appeared beside him. You didn't have to come down here, ma'am, he said quietly. I did, Maya replied softly. Because last night taught me something. Dignity isn't measured by title, it's revealed by character. He gave a small, humble smile. You're too kind. No, she said, meeting his eyes. I'm just finally seeing clearly. And for the first time, the woman who ruled skyscrapers stood still on the janitor's freshly polished floor, realizing that true worth doesn't sit in the boardroom. Sometimes, it stands quietly in the hallway, holding a mop. The next morning, the company buzzed with rumors. Every employee had heard something. Some said Maya Kapoor had fired the pranksters, others whispered she was bringing in lawyers. No one knew what was true, but everyone could feel it. Today wasn't going to be an ordinary day. At 9 sharp, a message flashed across every department screen. All staff to the main conference hall. Mandatory meeting. The hall was massive, with glass walls overlooking the city. Rows of employees filled the seats, whispering anxiously. Ryan, Leo, and Sarah sat together near the front, pale and silent. At the far end of the stage, a single podium waited. The hum of the air conditioning was the only sound, until the doors opened, and Maya Kapoor walked in. She was calm, composed, unreadable. Behind her walked someone unexpected, Armin. He wore the same simple clothes, his ID badge hanging neatly from his neck, his hands clasped nervously. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The janitor. Why is he here? Maya stood at the podium, scanning the faces before her. Good morning, she began, her voice firm and steady. I called this meeting because something happened last night that exposed a truth about this company, one I can't ignore any longer. Her gaze shifted briefly toward the 3 executives. Some of our own employees thought it would be entertaining to humiliate a man who works here. A man who cleans your offices, empties your trash, and keeps your workplace spotless. They tricked him into a blind date as a joke, and that man is standing right here. A collective gasp filled the room. Armin lowered his eyes, uneasy under the sudden attention. Maya continued, her tone unwavering. His name is Armin. He's been working here for 6 years, never late, never complained, never asked for more than respect. And yet, respect was the very thing denied to him. Ryan shifted uncomfortably, sweat glistening at his temple. Maya's eyes found him. When I learned what they'd done, I decided not to cancel the dinner. I wanted to see what kind of man they mocked. And what I saw humbled me. She turned slightly toward Armin. He spoke with grace. He treated everyone, including me, with kindness. And when he discovered the truth, that the date was a cruel prank, he didn't lash out or cause a scene. He simply thanked me for the meal. A silence thicker than glass settled in the hall. Maya leaned closer to the microphone. That is dignity, that is character, and that is what true class looks like. She paused, then took a deep breath. So today, I'm announcing the launch of a new internal initiative, the Human Dignity Program. It's designed to remind every single one of us that titles don't define value. People do, and I've asked Armin to assist me in leading this program. Heads turned. The employees stared in disbelief. Armin looked equally stunned. Ma'am, he said softly, I'm just a janitor. I don't know how to. You know exactly how to, Maya interrupted gently. Because you already live the values this company needs most. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, a few people began to clap. It started at the back, hesitant at first, then spread like fire through the hall until the entire room stood applauding. Armin's eyes shimmered, though he tried to hide it. He bowed his head slightly, overwhelmed. Maya turned back to the crowd. As for those responsible for this cruelty, she said, her voice hardening, they will remain employed, but under one condition. For the next 3 months, they will assist in maintenance and janitorial service under Armin's supervision. Perhaps that will teach them what true work, and humility, feels like. Ryan's mouth fell open, Leo looked like he'd swallowed a stone, and Sarah blinked back tears of shame. But Maya wasn't done. To everyone else, she said, remember, respect isn't something you show when someone earns a title. It's something you show because they're human. The applause grew louder. Armin stood beside her, not as a janitor now, but as a man who had changed an entire company with quiet grace. After the meeting, as people dispersed, Maya turned to him. You changed the way I see things, she said softly. Thank you for reminding me what leadership really means. Armin smiled faintly, the corners of his eyes creasing. You didn't have to do any of this, ma'am. Yes, I did, Maya replied. Because if a company forgets the worth of one honest man, it loses its soul. She extended her hand. He hesitated, then shook it gently. Around them, whispers turned into admiration, and for the first time, Armin wasn't invisible. He walked out of the hall with his head held high, no longer just the janitor, but the man who taught a billionaire the meaning of respect. And somewhere deep inside, Maya Kapoor knew that night wasn't a prank after all. It was fate, delivering her the lesson of a lifetime.